The harsh fluorescent glow of the hospital ceiling did little to soften the lines of exhaustion etched around Amara Jones's eyes. At 30, Amara carried the quiet strength of a woman who had learned to fight for every breath, every sliver of hope. She was a single mother, her universe revolving around her 5-year-old son, Noah. He was a vibrant, curious boy with a smile that could chase away any shadow, but Noah also carried a burden far too heavy for his small frame. A rare, complex heart condition that demanded constant medical attention and the terrifying prospect of a costly surgery. Amara's life was a relentless, quiet struggle. Her days a blur of hospital visits, endless paperwork, and her nights spent waiting tables at a high-end downtown restaurant. Her humble apartment, tucked away in a modest, working-class neighborhood, was small but meticulously kept, a testament to her unwavering determination to create a safe, nurturing haven for her son, despite the constant gnaw of financial anxiety. Every evening after her shift ended, usually well past midnight, Amara would return home, her body aching, her mind buzzing with the day's orders and the unspoken anxieties of Noah's escalating medical bills. But the moment she opened the door to their 2-bedroom sanctuary, fatigue melted away, replaced by the boundless love for her sleeping son. She would tiptoe into his room, gently kiss his forehead, and then, despite the late hour, pull out his favorite storybook. Even if he was asleep, she'd whisper the words. Her soft voice a comforting lullaby in the quiet darkness, her fingers tracing the worn pages. Her hands, calloused from years of gripping trays and scrubbing dishes, moved with a delicate tenderness as she tucked him in, pulling the thin blanket up to his chin. Her old alarm clock, its plastic yellowed with age, sat on her nightstand, a constant reminder of the relentless schedule she maintained, waking before dawn to get Noah ready for his specialized daycare before her own demanding day began. The small, neat apartment, every cushion fluffed, every surface wiped clean, was a silent monument to her unwavering effort, a fierce testament to her love in the face of daunting adversity. One bitterly cold night, as Amara walked home from her shift, the biting wind whipping around her, she saw a knot of teenagers huddled under the harsh glow of a street lamp. They were jeering, circling a frail, elderly homeless man who was hunched against a brick wall, clutching a threadbare blanket. One of the teenagers, emboldened by his friends, suddenly snatched the blanket, laughing as the cold man shivered, exposed to the cruel night. A surge of immediate, visceral anger, a rare but potent emotion for the usually soft-spoken Amara, flared within her. Most people would have hurried past, averted their gaze, or called the police. But Amara, despite her own exhaustion and the meager contents of her purse, did not hesitate. She walked directly towards the group, her posture radiating a quiet but unwavering authority. "Give him back his blanket," she stated, her voice low but firm, surprising even herself with its unyielding tone. The teenagers, startled by the unexpected confrontation from a lone woman, wavered. "Mind your business, lady," one sneered, but his bravado lacked conviction. Amara stood her ground, her gaze fixed on the stolen blanket. "It's his. Give it back. Now." The sheer, unyielding conviction in her eyes, coupled with her calm demeanor, seemed to disarm them. Grudgingly, the teenager tossed the blanket back towards the old man. As they slunk away, muttering curses, Amara approached the shivering man. "Are you all right?" she asked gently. He nodded, his eyes wide with surprise and gratitude. Without a second thought, Amara reached into her bag and pulled out the half-eaten sandwich she had saved from her shift, her intended dinner. "Here," she said, offering it to him. "It's not much, but it's warm." The man's emaciated hand trembled as he took it, his eyes filling with tears. This small, selfless act, performed in the dead of night, unknown to anyone but herself and the grateful recipient, was Amara's save the cat moment. It painted a clear portrait of her character, a woman of profound empathy, courage, and a selflessness that transcended her own considerable struggles. Beneath the veneer of her demanding life as a waitress and single mother, Amara harbored a secret passion, a forgotten dream from a life she'd almost, but not entirely, put aside. Tucked away in the bottom drawer of her bedside table, beneath stacks of medical bills and Noah's drawings, lay a small, worn, leather-bound notebook. Its pages were filled not with lists or recipes, but with intricate, meticulously detailed architectural sketches, soaring glass towers, innovative communal spaces, elegant bridges, and sleek modern homes. Each sketch was accompanied by a flurry of complex mathematical formulas, tiny calculations scrawled in her precise handwriting. She would often pull it out in the quiet hours after Noah was asleep, her fingers tracing the lines, a wistful, distant look in her eyes. It was a glimpse into a talent few knew she possessed, a passion for design and structure that had once been her guiding star before life's harsh realities had diverted her path. Around her neck, almost permanently, hung a simple silver necklace. Its pendant wasn't a locket or a charm, but a small, delicate replica of a drafting compass, its two legs subtly joined to form a stylized house. It was a gift from her late grandmother, who had always encouraged her artistic leanings, often telling Amara that she would build a better world, one blueprint at a time. This humble piece of jewelry, combined with the hidden notebook, served as the seed of mystery. It hinted at a past academic pursuit, a natural gift for architecture and design, a dream deferred but not entirely extinguished, quietly waiting for the right circumstances to reawaken. The muted beeping of the cardiac monitor beside Noah's bed was a relentless, chilling soundtrack to Amara's growing despair. For weeks, Noah's playful energy had slowly, subtly dwindled. His laughter, once a vibrant chime, had become softer, his small body tiring more easily. Amara, ever vigilant, had noticed every subtle change, every faint blue tinge to his lips. Then came the phone call that shattered her fragile sense of normalcy. Noah's cardiologist, his voice grave, had delivered the devastating news. Noah's rare heart condition had suddenly worsened. He needed immediate, extensive surgery. The window was narrow, 3 months at most. Without it, his heart would simply give out. The diagnosis hit Amara like a physical blow, stealing the air from her lungs. She spent the next few days in a desperate, frantic scramble. Her small savings, meticulously hoarded for Noah's future, vanished in a single payment for diagnostic tests and consultations. She applied for every grant, every charity program she could find, filling out endless forms with trembling hands, only to be met with polite rejections or long waiting lists. She worked every extra shift her restaurant would give her feet aching, her mind a blur of orders and tips. She sold the few pieces of jewelry she owned, heirlooms from her grandmother, and even contemplated selling Sarah's antique rocking chair, a painful thought that brought tears to her eyes. Her health insurance, a basic plan barely covering routine checkups, offered frustratingly little for such a specialized, high-cost procedure. Every avenue she explored led to a dead end, every door slammed shut in her face. The crushing weight of her inadequacy, the unbearable thought that she couldn't save her own son, became a constant ache in her chest. She felt utterly helpless, trapped in a nightmare she couldn't escape. The pressure mounted relentlessly. Dr. Chen, Noah's new cardiologist, a kind but weary woman, explained the stark reality. "Amara," she said softly, during a hushed conversation in the hospital hallway, "Noah's condition is deteriorating rapidly. We need to schedule this surgery. The cost, even with your minimal insurance coverage, is substantial. We need a significant down payment, or he simply cannot be added to the surgical schedule." Amara's voice cracked as she pleaded. "Please, doctor, I'm trying. I'm working every hour. Just give me more time." Dr. Chen's gaze was sympathetic, but firm. "I wish I could, Amara. But there are strict protocols, and other children waiting. We simply cannot hold a spot without financial commitment." The words strict protocols and financial commitment echoed in Amara's ears like a death knell. She walked away from that conversation with a chilling clarity. She had exhausted every conventional path. Her family, humble and struggling themselves, could offer little more than moral support. Her friends, equally strained, could only offer comforting words. She was alone in this fight, facing an insurmountable wall of medical bureaucracy and astronomical costs. The fear of losing Noah, a primal, suffocating terror, became an unbearable weight. She couldn't give up. She wouldn't. This was her point of no return. The comfortable illusion of her quiet, manageable struggle shattered, replaced by a desperate, unwavering resolve. She would do anything, absolutely anything, to save her son, even if it meant venturing into territories she never imagined. She had to find a miracle, or create one. She just didn't know how. The only option left was to work even more, take on a second job, push herself beyond human limits, because giving up was not an option. The sterile efficiency of the hospital was a constant, chilling reminder of Amara's growing despair. Every hallway, every hushed conversation seemed to echo with the impossible sum needed for Noah's surgery. Her primary contact there was Dr. Silas Thorne, Noah's new pediatric cardiologist. Dr. Thorne was a brilliant surgeon, renowned for his skill, but his demeanor was cold, almost clinical. He spoke in precise medical terms and emphasized the financial realities with an unsettling detachment. He wasn't malicious, but he was a stark embodiment of the bureaucratic and profit-driven healthcare system. "Mrs. Jones," he'd stated, his voice flat, "the procedure for Noah's condition is highly complex. The hospital has a strict policy regarding upfront payments for elective surgeries of this magnitude. We can't proceed until the financial arrangements are fully secured." He was a Type B antagonist, not an evil force, but a formidable obstacle, an unyielding representative of the system that threatened to deny Noah his chance at life. Working alongside him was Nurse Bethany, a stern-faced woman who seemed to revel in reminding Amara of the mounting bills and rapidly approaching deadlines. "Just another reminder, Mrs. Jones," she'd often say, her tone devoid of warmth. "The payment for next week's pre-op tests is still outstanding, and the surgery deposit is due in 10 days. She was an extension of the cold, unyielding system, her words like tiny, persistent needles pricking at Amara's frayed nerves. In stark contrast to the hospital's bleak atmosphere, Amara found small pockets of warmth and human connection at the restaurant. Among her colleagues, David, a kind-hearted sous chef, was a quiet source of support. He was a young man with a perpetually flour-dusted apron and a gentle smile. He'd often slip Amara extra portions of food to take home for Noah, or offer a word of encouragement when he saw the worry etched on her face. "Hang in there, Amara," he'd say. "You're doing great. Noah's lucky to have a mom like you." His simple acts of kindness were small beacons of light in her increasingly dark world, a reminder that not everyone was consumed by indifference. He was her unassuming helper, offering what little he could. The night the blizzard hit was etched into Amara's memory, a swirling chaos of snow and unexpected fate. A sudden, ferocious winter storm descended upon the city, trapping countless diners, including a particularly demanding clientele, within the upscale restaurant. The kitchen was in pandemonium, the waitstaff stretched thin, and the usually serene dining room buzzed with impatient murmurs. Among the stranded was Eleanor Vance, a name synonymous with power and immense wealth. A billionaire known for her sharp intellect and equally sharp tongue, Eleanor was seated at a secluded table, her formidable presence exuding an aura of cold, aristocratic detachment. Beside her sat her 7-year-old daughter, Lily, a beautiful but clearly distressed child, her eyes clouded with the dull haze of blindness. Lily was notoriously particular about food, and her nannies and security detail were visibly struggling to coax her into eating even a single bite of the elaborate dishes. Eleanor, observing the escalating tantrum with a mixture of exasperation and disdain, simply commanded, "Make her eat something. Anything. I'm not paying you to let my child starve." Amara, rushing past their table with a tray of drinks, couldn't help but notice Lily's trembling lip, her small hand pushing away a spoon laden with gourmet risotto. A pang of empathy, raw and immediate, pierced through Amara's exhaustion. She saw not a spoiled child, but a vulnerable little girl, lost and overwhelmed in a sensory world she couldn't fully perceive. For a fleeting moment, the weight of her own worries about Noah, the crushing financial burden, faded into the background. Driven by pure instinct, by the ingrained compassion of a mother, Amara paused. She gently knelt beside Lily's chair, her voice soft, imbued with a warmth that instantly cut through the tension. "Hello, Lily," she whispered, her voice like a gentle melody. "My name is Amara. That smells like yummy risotto, doesn't it? Can you tell me what you like to eat?" Sometimes, when my son Noah doesn't want to eat, I tell him a story about the food. Would you like to hear a story about this risotto? Lily, who had been stubbornly resistant to every coaxing attempt, slowly turned her head towards Amara, her sightless eyes fixed on the sound of her voice. Amara didn't wait for an answer. She began to describe the risotto, not just its taste, but its texture, its aroma, painting a vivid picture with her words. "Imagine tiny, creamy grains of rice," she began, her voice a soothing murmur, "each one like a little pearl, cooked in a warm, fragrant broth. It's got a little bit of earthy mushroom, soft and chewy, and a sprinkle of fresh green herbs, like tiny soft feathers that tickle your tongue. Can you feel the warmth coming from the bowl? It's like a warm hug for your tummy." She gently took a spoon, not forcing it, but hovering it near Lily's lips. To everyone's astonishment, Lily opened her mouth. Amara fed her one spoonful, then another, patiently describing each ingredient, each sensation. She was completely oblivious to Eleanor Vance, to the hushed murmurs of the staff, to the sheer impossibility of what she was doing. This instinctive act of kindness, this profound ability to connect with a vulnerable child, was Amara's unveiling. It was not a calculated move, but a spontaneous overflow of her true, compassionate nature, shining brightly in the most unexpected of places. Eleanor Vance, initially dismissive and annoyed by Amara's perceived intrusion, had watched the entire exchange in stunned silence. She had witnessed countless nannies and specialists fail to connect with Lily, often resorting to bribery or force. But this waitress, this unknown woman, had reached her daughter with nothing but kindness and a gentle voice. Eleanor's cold, analytical mind, usually focused on profit margins and market trends, was forced to confront something intangible, something deeply human. She saw the patience in Amara's hands, the genuine affection in her voice, and the palpable relief that spread across Lily's small face. It was a connection that money could not buy, a warmth that had been sorely missing in her highly controlled world. She observed Amara, her gaze piercing, noting every detail, from the worn seams of her uniform to the unwavering kindness in her eyes. Eleanor said nothing, but a seed of profound respect, tinged with a complex mix of surprise and self-reproach, began to sprout within her. She had just witnessed a genuine act of grace, a stark contrast to the transactional world she inhabited, and it resonated with her on a level she hadn't known she possessed. The sterile white walls of the pediatric ward seemed to close in on Amara, suffocating her with their cold indifference. Each chime of a distant monitor, each whispered conversation, was a painful reminder of the clock ticking down on Noah's life. The hospital, once a place of healing, had become her arena, a battleground where she fought against an invisible enemy, insurmountable medical debt. The final crushing blow came from Dr. Silas Thorne. His face, usually a mask of detached professionalism, held a flicker of genuine regret, but his words were unyielding. "Amara," he began, his voice devoid of his usual clinical tone, "Noah's cardiac function has deteriorated significantly. We cannot wait any longer. His surgery must happen in 2 weeks, at the absolute latest." He paused, his gaze hardening. "And, Mrs. Jones, I must be frank. We still have not received the required deposit. If the funds are not secured, we will, regrettably, have to remove Noah from the surgical schedule." Amara felt her blood run cold. "No! Please, doctor. I'm trying everything. Just a little more time," she pleaded, her voice hoarse with desperation. Dr. Thorne sighed, a weary sound. "My hands are tied, Amara. The hospital has policies. Other children are waiting who can pay. It's a matter of resources." He walked away, leaving Amara trembling, the stark finality of his words echoing in the silent hallway. Meanwhile, at the restaurant, the pressure was mounting in a different, equally cruel way. A regular customer, Mr. Harrison, a man known for his exorbitant wealth and equally inflated ego, made a point of making Amara's life miserable. He was connected to Eleanor Vance's social circle, though Julian had never liked him. "Waitress," he'd bellow, clicking his fingers dismissively. "This water is too cold. This bread is stale. You are simply incompetent." He'd then turn to the maitre d', loud enough for Amara to hear. I expect better service than this. Frankly, she should be fired. Such inefficiency is simply unacceptable in an establishment of this caliber. He reveled in her discomfort, his eyes gleaming with the sadistic pleasure of exercising his power over someone he deemed beneath him. He was a small, petty tyrant, reflecting the indifference of the privileged world to the struggles of those who served them. Amara was utterly, terrifyingly alone. She had exhausted every avenue. Her meager savings were gone. Her family, supportive but poor, could do no more. David, her kind colleague, could only offer sympathetic glances and an occasional extra meal. She had taken on an absurd number of shifts, often working 20 hours straight, blurring the lines between days and nights, sleep becoming a distant memory. She felt her body screaming in protest, her mind thick with exhaustion, yet the fear of losing Noah propelled her forward. Each time she looked at his small, vulnerable face, she found a renewed, desperate strength. But the deadline loomed, a monstrous shadow growing larger with each passing hour. The ultimate test came in the form of a crisp, official-looking letter from the hospital. Amara found it tucked under Noah's medical chart one morning. Her hands shook as she opened it. The words blurred into a single, devastating sentence. Due to outstanding balances, Noah Jones will be removed from the surgical waiting list in 24 hours if payment is not received. 24 hours. One single day. Her breath hitched, a choked sob escaping her lips. She looked at Noah, sleeping peacefully, oblivious to the bureaucratic death sentence hanging over his head. Tears streamed down her face, silent and hot. She slumped into the hard plastic chair beside his bed, clutching the letter to her chest. All her fighting, all her sacrifice, had been for nothing. She had run out of time, out of options, out of hope. She felt a profound, crushing despair, a hopelessness so deep it threatened to consume her. She closed her eyes, picturing Noah's bright smile, his infectious giggle, the warmth of his small hand in hers. Was this it? Was this how it ended? She was at the precipice, Noah's life hanging by a single, fraying thread. This was her hang by a single hair moment, where all her strength, all her love, seemed utterly insufficient against the cold, unyielding realities of a world that valued profit over a child's life. She had nothing left to give, nowhere left to turn. The harsh fluorescent lights of Noah's hospital room seemed to dim, casting long, menacing shadows as Amara clutched the devastating letter. 24 hours. That was all the time Noah had left on the surgical list. A choked sob escaped her, silent tears tracing hot paths down her cheeks. Her spirit, usually so resilient, felt shattered. This was it, the breathless moment before total despair, the cold, stark reality of a mother's greatest fear. She leaned her head against the cool metal of Noah's bedrail, her body heavy with defeat, her mind a blank canvas of hopelessness. A soft knock interrupted her silent agony. A different nurse, one Amara hadn't seen before, entered the room, carrying a large sealed envelope. "Mrs. Jones," she asked gently, her voice kind. "This just came for you, from the hospital's executive office." Amara's eyes, red-rimmed and swollen, flickered open. She took the envelope, her hand trembling. It felt thick, substantial. Inside, nestled beneath a formal letterhead, was a single sheet of paper, and, tucked beneath it, a crisp, white check. Amara unfolded the letter, her vision blurring through the tears. The words swam before her, then slowly came into focus. "Dear Mrs. Jones, it is with great pleasure that we inform you that the full cost of Noah Jones's impending cardiac surgery, including all pre- and post-operative care, has been generously covered by an anonymous benefactor. Noah's surgery is now confirmed for tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Please prepare him accordingly." Amara reread the letter. Then again. And again. Anonymous benefactor? Full cost? Confirmed for tomorrow? Her mind reeled. It felt like a cruel mirage, a trick of her exhausted mind. She looked down at the check. The amount was staggering, enough to cover everything, and more. A wave of disbelief, followed by a surge of overwhelming relief, crashed over her. She stared at Noah, sleeping soundly, utterly unaware of the miracle that had just unfolded. Tears, no longer of despair, but of profound, aching gratitude, poured down her face. A miracle. Someone, somewhere, had heard her silent cries. A few hours later, as the early morning light filtered through Noah's window, a quiet knock brought Amara's attention to the door. Standing there was Eleanor Vance, her impeccably tailored suit a stark contrast to the hospital's muted tones. But there was a difference in Eleanor today. The sharp, imperious edges seemed softened, replaced by an expression of quiet contemplation. She held a small, delicate vase of white lilies. "Mrs. Jones," Eleanor began, her voice calm, devoid of the cold authority Amara remembered. "May I come in?" Amara, still reeling from the morning's revelation, nodded numbly. Eleanor entered, placing the lilies on Noah's bedside table. She looked at Noah, then turned her gaze to Amara. "I imagine you're wondering who your anonymous benefactor is," Eleanor stated, a faint, almost shy smile touching her lips. "It was me," Amara gasped, her eyes widening in stunned disbelief. "You? But why?" Eleanor sat down on the visitor's chair, her posture less rigid than usual. "Do you remember that night at the restaurant, Mrs. Jones? The blizzard? My daughter, Lily?" Amara nodded, a vague memory of the demanding billionaire and her difficult child resurfacing. "I watched you that night," Eleanor continued, her voice gaining a quiet intensity. "I watched you with Lily. You saw her, truly saw her, when no one else bothered. You spoke to her, not to demand, but to connect. You fed her with kindness, not with coercion. That touched me in a way I hadn't realized was possible. Money, power, influence, I have all of it. But it couldn't buy what you gave my daughter in that moment. Genuine human connection. Selfless compassion." Eleanor paused, her gaze direct and unwavering. "My world is full of people who want things from me. People who are transactional. But you, Mrs. Jones, you simply gave. You gave kindness, empathy, without thought of reward, to a child who was difficult and demanding. And when I learned about your son's condition, about your struggle, I knew I had to help. It was the least I could do to repay a debt far greater than any financial one." Just then, Dr. Silas Thorne entered the room, accompanied by Nurse Bethany. Dr. Thorne, who had been brisk and unyielding just hours before, now wore an expression of deference and respect as he recognized Eleanor Vance. "Ms. Vance," he said, bowing slightly. Then he turned to Amara, his voice considerably warmer than usual. "Mrs. Jones, we're ready for Noah whenever you are. The surgical team is prepared." Nurse Bethany, who had once been so dismissive, now offered Amara a genuinely warm smile. "We'll take good care of him, Mrs. Jones. Everything is in order." Amara looked at Dr. Thorne, then at Nurse Bethany, their shifted demeanor a stark contrast to their previous coldness. They were clearly aware of Eleanor's intervention and the powerful hand that had smoothed over all the protocols. She felt a wave of satisfaction, a quiet victory not just for Noah, but for every desperate parent who had ever been turned away by a cold, bureaucratic system. This was her vindication, a triumph of human compassion over institutional indifference. As the orderlies arrived to take Noah to pre-op, Amara leaned down, pressing a soft kiss to his forehead. "Be brave, my love," she whispered, her voice choked with emotion. "Mommy's got you." She looked at Eleanor, tears brimming in her eyes. "Thank you," she managed, the word inadequate for the depth of her gratitude. "You've changed our lives forever." Eleanor simply nodded, a serene smile on her face. The true power, she realized, wasn't in the wealth she wielded, but in the unseen ripples of kindness that could transform destinies. The frantic energy of the hospital room, once charged with despair and then astonishing relief, slowly dissipated, replaced by a profound, palpable sense of peace. Noah's surgery was a resounding success. Dr. Thorne, his earlier brusqueness replaced by a genuine smile, confirmed that the intricate procedure had gone perfectly. Noah, though still groggy, was stable, his small chest rising and falling with a steady, strong rhythm. Dr. Silas Thorne, now witnessing firsthand the transformative power of compassion, underwent a subtle but significant shift. He began to advocate more passionately for patients facing financial hardship, navigating the bureaucratic labyrinth with a newfound empathy that surprised even his longtime colleagues. Nurse Bethany, too, had shed her detached demeanor, often stopping by Noah's room with a kind word or a gentle touch, her eyes reflecting a quiet admiration for Amara. The hospital, for Amara, no longer felt like a cold, unyielding fortress, but a place where miracles, powered by unexpected kindness, could truly happen. The news of Eleanor Vance's generous donation and her profound connection to Amara and Noah remained largely private, a testament to Eleanor's quiet discretion. However, within the inner circles of the city's elite, whispers of Eleanor's sudden and uncharacteristic act of profound philanthropy rippled through the social scene. It sparked conversations, nudging some toward a more mindful approach to their own vast resources. For Eleanor, her initial act of kindness had become a turning point. The interaction with Amara and witnessing Lily's joyful connection had opened her eyes to a different kind of value, one that transcended balance sheets and market trends. Her perspective on life, on the true measure of human worth, had shifted irrevocably. She saw the vast chasm between her world and Amara's, and she felt a powerful urge to bridge it, not with charity, but with genuine opportunity. In the weeks that followed, Noah's recovery was nothing short of miraculous. His laughter, once soft and infrequent, now bubbled freely through Amara's small apartment, a joyous melody that banished the lingering echoes of fear. He gained weight, his cheeks plumped with health, and his energy levels soared. He was truly a reborn child. One afternoon, a month after the surgery, Amara received a call from Eleanor Vance. "Mrs. Jones." Eleanor's voice was warm, inviting. "I'd like to invite you and Noah to my estate. Lily has been asking about you, and I have something I'd like to discuss." Amara arrived at the sprawling Vance estate, feeling a mix of awe and trepidation. Lily, her face lighting up at the sound of Amara's voice, immediately reached for her hand, pulling her towards a sun-drenched conservatory filled with lush plants. As Noah played with Lily under the watchful eye of a kind new nanny Eleanor had hired, Eleanor turned to Amara, a thoughtful expression on her face. "Amara," Eleanor began, "I've been doing some research. After our conversation at the hospital, and after observing your incredible spirit, I looked into your background. I found your academic records, your application to architecture school, your early designs. They are remarkable, truly exceptional." Amara felt a blush creep up her neck. Her architectural dreams were a relic of a past life, buried under years of struggle. "That was a long time ago, Ms. Vance," she murmured. Life happens." Eleanor smiled gently. "Life does happen. But sometimes life also offers a second chance. My company, Vance Holdings, is one of the largest real estate development firms in the country. We have numerous projects, from urban renewal to sustainable housing, and we are always looking for visionary talent." She paused, her gaze unwavering. "I want to offer you a full scholarship to the most prestigious architecture program in the country, with a generous stipend for living expenses and childcare for Noah, and upon graduation, a guaranteed senior design position at Vance Holdings, with a path to partner." Amara stared at her, speechless. The air seemed to shimmer with the enormity of the offer. It was more than a scholarship. It was a complete transformation of her life, a resurrection of a dream she had long since mourned as dead. Tears welled in her eyes, blurring Eleanor's kind face. "Ms. Vance," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. I don't know what to say. This is impossible." Eleanor reached across the table, gently squeezing Amara's hand. "Nothing is impossible, Amara, when there is talent, dedication, and a good heart. You have all three in abundance. You showed me what truly matters. You showed my daughter kindness that no amount of money could buy. This is not charity, Amara. This is an investment in a talent that deserves to flourish, and in a person whose compassion can change the world. You saved my daughter, Amara, in a way no one else could. Now let me help you build the life you truly deserve." A profound sense of peace settled over Amara, a calm deeper than the absence of fear. It was the peace of purpose, of possibility, of a future unfolding beyond her wildest dreams. This was her new calm, not just the end of a crisis, but the serene beginning of a life reimagined, built on the unexpected foundation of kindness and profound gratitude. 5 years later, the skyline of the bustling metropolis boasted a new, striking addition, the Ascent Tower, a shimmering beacon of glass and steel that curved gracefully towards the sky. Designed by Amara Jones, it was a testament to her extraordinary talent, now fully realized. No longer the weary waitress battling despair, Amara was a celebrated architect, a principal partner at Vance Holdings, and a leading voice in sustainable, community-focused design. Her early notebook sketches, once hidden away, now manifested as tangible structures across the city, affordable housing complexes bathed in natural light, vibrant community centers, and innovative educational facilities that integrated green spaces and sensory gardens. She had not only built a new life for herself, but was actively building a better world for countless others. Noah, now a healthy, energetic 10-year-old, was a vibrant testament to the power of a second chance. His childhood, once overshadowed by illness, was now filled with laughter, school projects, and boundless curiosity. He excelled in his studies, a bright, inquisitive mind nurtured by the unwavering support he received. Eleanor Vance had made good on her promise, personally overseeing Noah's educational path, ensuring he had access to the best schools and resources. Their bond, forged in a moment of crisis, had deepened into a genuine familial connection. Noah often spent weekends at Eleanor's estate, where he and Lily, now 12, shared an easy, affectionate camaraderie, their unique childhoods intertwining into a rich tapestry of shared experiences. The relationship between Amara and Eleanor Vance had blossomed into a profound, enduring friendship, built on mutual respect and shared purpose. They were no longer just benefactor and recipient, but partners in a grander vision. Amara's empathetic approach to design and Eleanor's formidable business acumen proved to be a powerful combination. Together, they established the Lily and Noah Foundation, expanding Eleanor's initial philanthropy into a structured, far-reaching organization. This foundation provided not only critical medical funding for children with rare diseases, but also scholarships for aspiring architects from underprivileged backgrounds, ensuring that talent, like Amara's, would never be stifled by financial hardship. Amara, drawing from her own journey, spearheaded the foundation's outreach programs, personally mentoring young individuals, guiding them through the often intimidating pathways of higher education and professional careers. She was passionate about designing inclusive spaces, using her expertise to create sensory-rich environments for visually impaired children, ensuring places like schools and parks were accessible and engaging for all. One sun-drenched afternoon, a jubilant crowd gathered for the grand opening of the Beacon of Hope Community Center, a project close to Amara's heart. Designed entirely by her, it was a beautiful, multi-sensory building dedicated to supporting families with sick children and providing educational programs for children with disabilities. The building itself was a work of art, with tactile pathways for the visually impaired, sound-absorbing materials to create calming spaces, and a central courtyard bathed in natural light. Amara stood on the podium, her voice clear and strong as she addressed the crowd. "This center," she announced, "is more than just bricks and mortar. It is a testament to the belief that every life holds infinite value, that kindness can illuminate the darkest paths, and that compassion, when nurtured, can build incredible futures." She glanced at Eleanor, who stood proudly in the front row, a rare, soft smile gracing her lips. Then, Amara gestured to a young girl, about 10 years old, with bright, inquisitive eyes, standing near a specially designed fountain. This was Lily. Lily, no longer the shy, withdrawn child, was confidently exploring the fountain's textured base, her fingers tracing the intricate carvings, a radiant smile on her face. Beside her stood Noah, his arm gently guiding her, his gaze filled with affection and pride. He was taller now, his heart strong, a testament to the life Amara had fought so hard to save. Noah then gently led Lily to a small, bronze plaque near the entrance. Lily's fingers traced the engraved words, "Dedicated to the enduring power of kindness, hope, and second chances." She looked up, her sightless eyes seeming to gleam with understanding. Amara stepped down from the podium, her heart full. She watched Noah and Lily, Two children whose lives had been irrevocably shaped by a single act of kindness, now thriving, inseparable. Eleanor approached her, her hand resting gently on Amara's arm. "You've not just built buildings, Amara," Eleanor said, her voice husky with emotion. "You've built hope for so many." Amara looked at Eleanor, then at Noah and Lily, a profound sense of fulfillment settling over her. This was her second spring, a vibrant, thriving reality born from a bleak winter, a life blooming with purpose, partnership, and the quiet, enduring power of human connection. The journey had been arduous, but the destination was more beautiful than she could have ever imagined. If this story stirred your heart, if it reminds you that courage can alter destinies, and that light always finds a path even in the deepest darkness, please leave a comment. Share this story with those who need inspiration. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell to never miss upcoming narratives that delve into the profound human spirit and the power of unseen heroes. Thank you for joining the journey.